Why is it there? Is it because a lot of companies feel such a burden from legislation that it's very difficult for them to officially register? They might have a much bigger trade economy or even better economy than they would like to have to. Those are things that you need to analyze in advance, so that the solutions we come up with make sense and actually deliver the improvements you would like to see happening. And that's where policy development and policy analysis comes in. People come ahead, but use the knowledge there is, not just your knowledge, but those of your colleagues in other organizations as well. And use your heart, because your heart tells you where you would like to see the country going. Final question.
Może pośród siłowni, które pan Artunie strategii evidentnie zresztą będzie, kiedy widzę, że kiedy eksperiencji, kiedy poszczególne zdarzenia dla się do pory sojusznicy, to niektóre siłownie na strategiczne, które strategii w praktyce, są zbierane w miejscu, które nas wybiera. Na strategicznym szkole, na to nie konkretnie szkoła, że pan tutaj minister tej siłowni
Very nice one, very nice one. As I mentioned before, and I told you, this project takes 4 years. And 4 years is a cycle that administrations normally take to improve the way that they're developing their policies. The European Commission, as mentioned before, every 5 years they update their guidelines for impact assessment, better regulation, consultation. Now, what have we done so far within the OPM? Well, this is going to be interesting for the group after you, because it can't be taken out completely. What has been done by the OPM in the past? Now, first of all, we analyze. We're using policy analysis in this project as well. We analyze, first of all, the better regulation strategy, what actually do we need to focus on? Where should be the priorities of the government lie? What are the most important factors to implement? So we have the better regulation strategy 2.0 coming out. If you look at it, I started in July. Most of my team started on the 1st of August, some people a little bit later. So we had about 5 months that we were working within the OPM. And I'm just looking at the main outputs, there are other things as well. So that's the strategy coming out. We're now putting the basis in there in terms of guidelines. There's lots of different tools for policy analysis. Standard cost model, general quality analysis, how to identify economic, social, environmental impacts, how to structure the analysis for that. How are we deciding what to improve, what to change, what to add? It's because before we even came in, there was a detailed analysis of how concept documents are being developed in Kosovo, where the challenges are in terms of resources that ministries have, but also the clarity of the guidance that is available. So those two are the main factors that, main outputs that we have. In addition to that, we've been working on individual concept documents, helping with the analysis. We have done the training on policy costing, so what are the budget impacts coming from it. We've started communicating on the standard cost model, how to use it, how to apply it. We're developing a manual for that as well, to support the guidelines, to make sure that people know how to apply this. So what we've done so far in a proper policy development cycle is to do the analysis, and starting preparing the solutions which we will then consult over the summer. And then, once the guidelines are adopted, we will make sure that we are there for every concept document, that people come to us and say, well, can you work with us, that we can support that directly, either with our own bring the heart, or with budget for activities and things like that. I may add to this, that's looking at what kind of offices that we are supporting. Within the strategic planning office, we are helping with consolidating the strategic planning framework of the country, because there is a big amount of strategies, and one of the ideas is actually to reduce the number and really focus on 5-6 strategies a year. Achieving that takes some time, but that's something that we are involved in through this support project as well. At the legal office, practically, there have been an evaluation program started last year. But how to do evaluations, how to do a proper ex post analysis of what legislation is actually supposed to achieve is something that we also want to dive in and to help the legal office in implementing their own plan for evaluations in Kosovo. In a nutshell, a lot of preparation work, a lot of analysis work, so that we come up with suggestions that will improve the situation in the future. If these guidelines, for example, if we would have drafted them last year in August, September, put them out or adopt them immediately, I would not even want to be responsible for their quality. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this process, and I'm very happy to see that within the OPM, people fully acknowledge and actually support this. Because these guidelines are going to be there for a year or something like that. These guidelines are going to be guiding policy development in Kosovo for the next 5-6 years. That's why it's so important to make sure, just like with the law, just like with the policy proposal, that it's well thought through, that it has a high quality, so you can work with it properly in the future. Yes, we might change things, but we should change things behind the comma. If we have to change things in front of the comma, so to speak, I think we've not done this process right. That's why I put a lot of emphasis on that. Does that answer?
Bevor sam myślał o Kamil pomoże, że SIDA referendariske implementering programmi na zimne känner i solidaritetsska känner projekt som är mitt så kan du mentaliteten bygga. Vi på tomu będzie kta się on premisy, a ta na rit mediten Kosova a nuk tin me hartu strategji, a problemi është që nuk zbatohen strategji që janë. A ka problem Kosova me hartimin e strategjive, edhe të ekspertë, apo ka problem me mos zbatimin e strategjive.
Well, I don't even have to use my own assessment in that. When you look at international research being done in Sigma comparing, it's very good. Well, Kosovo is very good at developing strategies, implementing them into detail, making sure that they work in practice. That's where the challenge lies. Why? Well, it's always easier to develop an idea. Easier to get an idea, we can develop 100 ideas within 1 hour, so to speak. But testing, challenging that idea, making sure that within a strategy, for example, we do have all the involved organizations having their buy-in, actually make sure that they know what they need to do, that they're prepared for it, that they have the staff, budget, and everything to do. That's a very difficult process. And again, let me put you in a regional perspective. It's not just difficult here, it's difficult in many countries. Because when you need to make predictions 3 to 5 years ahead, you try to make it for yourself. And that might always not be easy. Try to make it for an entire country. For me, and that's something that applies everywhere, the best way of making sure that any kind of strategy or policy or law, any kind of action of the government is implemented is to make sure to have as many eyes looking at it as possible. Not just within a working group, not just with the direct involved stakeholders, but making sure that people read it, understand it, and come with this critical assessment. This critical feedback is essential to make sure that you put the quality. And that's something that's in any kind of policy development process is something that you need to put and need to have Plus, of course, when the strategy is adopted, people do get to work to implement it. That practically means that we have the resources
controllore da duce de oncheze proiecte posibile măsurile comuniste. Și ca o ștarit, eu vreau să fac știri poi pe proiecte, nu să proiecte în rapidă, nu pot să zic de care. Pois cada vez ele está sulla ministro che da disponibile proiecte tiera para prote, că de proiecte intorno mentre se au și succes de grademe de sub de notă trenga sigla. Ne putem găsi că procesul ești politica de năce de pintor. Vreau bazune regulare în care se celebră. Ne chiama analizu procesul de putem invita de tași potentori da gioventù processi. Paritura professora Akse, deve di cui la vita di Dumi dice che Ceverin e Kosovës janë përgatit pa asë një analizë para të. Ose themi analizë shumë të gjopët. Ka qesin ashtu në këtë kontekst. Prej vitit 2012 ka filluar zbatimi I sistemit të koncept dokumenteve, cili kërkon që asnjë dokument nuk del në qeveri për vendimorje pa u bo një analizë paragrafë. Përfshin këtu dokumente të ndryshme të politikave, përfshin ligje, përfshin programe, përfshin strategji, përfshin vendime. Në thonë, këtë sistem e kemi themelu, bashkëpunim me zyrën e kryeministrit me projekte tjera. Edhe këtë sistem ne do ta përfojmë bashkërisht. Se kjo kërkon shumë kohë edhe shumë timp. Përpara nënshkrimin e politikave ka qenë involvume të përfshira vetëm zyre kryqëzore në kuadrin të kryeministrive. Vitet e fundit ka ndryshuar situata dhe nënshkrimin e politikave përfshin edhe departamentet përqendëse të fushave të caktuara. Në tonë kjo është një analizë barake e madhe, po cilën bashkërisht do ta përfojmë.
When I just add to this is the setup of the project in practice. This is what I like so much about it, because Fioretta and the others have such a lot of information, and it's easily accessible. And thank you very much, Fioretta, for your contribution to this. This is the kind of atmosphere, the kind of approach that I personally really cherish. And this is the approach that I think is the basis that we need for future success. Having so many different minds together, excellent people with excellent experience to come in and explain things in this is information program. That for me, yes, I can read about it. But Fioretta lived through that process as well. And just going back again, as Fioretta mentioned, concept documents, policy analysis started 2012. You scored 3. Serbia was the process runs longer. Montenegro, the process runs longer. So don't forget that.
Leadership.